Master, my heart knows no greater peace than when I am by your side.
Dragon's Dogma, dude.
Dogs.
I got to play Drag's Dog 2, dude, for an hour and a half.
Heck
and it was sick. I'm here to tell you, it feels correct.
Correct.
It has the, when you play, I know it's not a remaster, but when you play like a remaster,
right?
And you're like, oh, this feels exactly the same, and then you look at like the original, and you're like, oh, that's like looks so much older, This had that feeling where it's like the vibe remained the same, the feelings are the same, except it's better graphics and better controls and
so like F-Zero 99.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I haven't played it, but
no, it's just funny because it's like as soon as I started playing that
for that reveal,
Damiani was Damiani was like, oh, I think they changed some physics and stuff. And it's like, I couldn't tell, but
right, they just
maybe if I go back and forth, maybe.
So, Dragon's Dogma 2. If you don't know, Dragon's Dogma 1 is a very quirky and very wonderful game. It's one of my favorite games ever. And it kind of succeeds. It's such a hard game to describe because it's like, does it succeed despite itself, or are all of its weird eccentricities what makes it wonderful? Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's a game. The bones of it seemed the same in 2. There's a lot of walking everywhere. There's a lot of like, you're not to the capital city yet, and it's nighttime, and now all really hard monsters are here, But you can camp at a campsite to advance the hours, which I think is new. I played as first an archer, then as a thief, and then as a fighter.
Oh, okay, great.
The demo that I had access to had kind of just, you could select pre-built characters with pre-built parties and of pawns and you. And they're in kind of different areas. The archer was far from the capital city. The thief was medium far from it, and the fighter was right near it. And so as the archer, so these are 3 starting vocations, I should say.
Got it. Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma has job systems.
Kind of hybrid class kind of things.
Vocations, yeah. And later on in the game, you get more advanced vocations. The one that I saw in the game referenced by a guy at the inn was mage, but that didn't have a preset for the demo, so I could not play as a mage. But the way magic works in Dragon's Dogma is really cool because you have to the more powerful a spell is, the longer you have to spend channeling it, and then you'll throw a huge. Magic is devastatingly huge, but it leaves you vulnerable while you're trying to cast it. That is all to say that there will be more advanced vocations. I don't know what they will be. They haven't specified yet, unless they announced something while I was on a plane coming back from this event, because they put out a trailer pretty much while I was coming back from the event that I have not yet had a chance to watch because I've been on podcasts all day.
I'd like to introduce some advanced vocations that become available as you progress in the story.
So I played as an archer, and the first thing I noticed was in this one, the archer class is just an archer. In Dragon's Dogma 1, you also had knives, so you were kind of like a hybrid.
Dagger, yeah.
This one, you're just an archer, whereas the thief is the knives, is the dual blades, and you're really fast, and you don't have a bow. And the fighter was big sword guy with a shield, So I think it seems like they've kind of streamlined some of the jobs. My hope is that they have ways you can hybridize them later, like maybe there's a ranger class or something that is if you level up thief and archer, maybe you combine them into ranger or something.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of how it worked in 1.
I'm not even 100% sure if this makes sense, but is thief just about being more nimble and quick, or do you have any kind of stealth boost or something like that?
There was a smoke bomb ability that may or may not have had that sort of exact effect. I didn't read the description on that ability, but I did throw that down, and it did help with kind of getting around and doing combat. The combat feels really great. It's a little weird that you can't lock on.
Oh, you can't at all.
No,
Interesting.
it sort of locks on for you, kinda. And as the archer, you have the option to aim down sights basically with R1, which is a little took couple of seconds to get used to. I'm like, okay, R1, not L2 to look down sights. But then you pretty quickly realize like you don't need to do that very much, because you hold L1 to switch to like special abilities. And the archer had like a deep draw shot and like a spread shot and a barrage shot, but those take stamina, whereas your normal attacks either don't or take less.
Got it.
And that's if you're not holding L1. So that's just like if you hit square, you shoot, and if you hit triangle, you like kick. So it's like if somebody gets too close to you as the archer, you try to kick them away, right? And then as you try to get distance, X is jump, standard stuff. L3 is sprint. But as in number 1, the stamina is not overly generous, and the equip weight you hit pretty fast. You get heavy faster, and you slow down a little bit. So you're meant to like give them to your pawns and stuff like that. There is one thing that's really nice, and they seemed kind of abundant in that I played for an hour and a half and I found 2 of them. There are golden beetles that if you find them, they will give you a permanent stat boost to your like carry weight.
Oh, great.
So like as you're exploring and looking around, if you see this beetle, you can like lighten the load basically forever, which is kind of nice. Because in Dragon's Dogma 1, there's a lot of item management. You got to go to the inn and do all this stuff. And that's another thing is like you can only up your skills or change your skills at the inn as well. Dragon's Dogma is funny like that. It's like it's got this like kind of old school kind of bent to it where like you've got to walk everywhere. Originally when Dragon's Dogma 1 came out, you didn't even have fast travel, basically. You had like 3 stones you could put somewhere, and then it cost things to use it. They eventually changed that, so I assume that this will have some kind of fast travel thing. In the demo, I didn't have access to any fast travel, of course. As the archer, I started really far away, and I was helping some people. It was kind of funny. The demo started, and I was kind of mid-quest, and I was in a town, and I could pick up quests and do whatever, and then I kind of went out into the world, and I was wandering around. I got to this other little town that was a burned-out husk. It had been attacked by a dragon.
Oh,
and then somebody, I can't remember if somebody said, like, well, you remember your bond. Oh, yeah, the dragon's voice happened, and it was like, you remember your bond or whatever. And then it went into a flashback, and the whole rest of the demo, I was in a flashback for playing as the archer.
Okay.
I think, unless I got out of the flashback somewhere in there without realizing it, but it was like kind of funny. But the setup is pretty similar. In the first one, a dragon comes and attacks a place. You try to kind of stand up to it. It kills you, basically. It pokes its little giant claw into your chest and takes your heart and eats it, sort of. It like floats into its mouth. Same exact thing here. You become the Arisen, and that's what that means. The dragon has eaten your heart, and you are like beholden to the dragon in some weird ways, kind of. The interesting thing here is the dragon, from my recollection, sounded a little different. I don't know if that's just a different casting or what. It looks like the same dragon, but maybe it's not. And I had gotten the inkling that it was a different world.
Right.
And then they actually said, one of the people at Capcom said, yes, it's a different but similar world. But the way he said it sounded a little like coy. So I don't really know what's going on. And like if you've played 1, you might have thoughts about the world of this and how it could be certain things. I will say that the dragon making you the Arisen is very similar. It does the heart thing, and then this lady finds you and she's talking to you, and she seems like she kind of knows you, or there's some history there, but you don't really remember it. And she seems keen to see you again, And the people look very Dragon's Dogma. The writing is
okay.
no, but in a good way.
Sure.
I love Dragon's Dogma, so I don't know, whatever. But they say ought every other word like they used to.
Aught may have befallen.
Does it have aught to do with why you were taken to the castle?
Like everything is here. Like you fight harpies, and the harpies have that same like song that they do.
Oh, funny.
There are a lot of quests about like, hey, you just got to the capital city. Can you accompany my wagon back to the city that it took you an hour and a half to get here from? That kind of stuff. Goblins, harpies.
Did you
know.
see like night? Because like wasn't
Nighttime?
the
Oh yeah.
first one like
Oh,
crazy
yeah.
dark?
Oh my god. When I had the lantern off, before I remembered I had a lantern, pitch darkness, couldn't see anything. And then I got murdered by a bunch of skeletons.
Ooh, yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah.
I do like me some skeletons in the dark.
Yes. But something I picked up on in the story that's interesting is, so you are the Arisen, right? And you know you're the actual Arisen because you saw it happen. But you're accompanying some knights to the capital as the archer. And they kind of don't trust you at first. They don't think you're actually the Arisen because apparently in this game, the Arisen is the leader and there have been false Arisen. Like there have been people claiming to be a false Arisen. So it's like there's some intrigue going on there. So that's really interesting. They're like false Arisen. I don't know. That's like, as far as story goes, that's like all that I got from the event. But yeah, gameplay wise, it feels really good. It feels really similar to the first one. It feels a little less splashy.
That's good, yeah.
Like I was saying though, there's no like targeting, and I even asked, I was like, is there a way to like specifically target and have like a reticle or whatever? And they were like, no. The health bar of the person that you're targeting, usually in the area I was in, it was goblins or harpies, shows up when you're attacking them. But basically you kind of just like do the attacks you want to do, and as the archer, you just kind of like are pointing generally there and they happen, and it hits them. And that sounds kind of lame, but it has like a visceral quality to it where it feels good. It's a very weird combat system.
Yeah.
It's not like character action or Soulsy. It's its own kind of weird thing. Somewhere in between all of that and a whole other different ballgame. Playing as the thief, I immediately felt more at home. Like I liked the archer. Originally I played as the magic archer in the first game. Which was kind of that hybrid, like knives and bows, and you had magic. The thief, immediately I was like, okay, yeah, this is more my speed. Because that one, you know exactly who you're targeting because you're running up to them and like attacking them with knives. So you don't need to lock on with that, really. It just kind of felt a little weird with the archer to not be able to like target lock. But the game is target locking for you, and the arrow's kind of home. So it doesn't really matter because they're like sort of magical, probably. But yeah, the thief is really quick. You have a knife dash attack, and like cool jumping attacks and stuff like that. And the pawns are back. You have a party of 3 pawns. Presumably, one of them is your pawn, and 2 of them are pawns of other players.
Right.
In the demo, kind of thing, I don't know, maybe Max was my character's pawn, but it was the same pawns every time for each of the 3 different demo playable characters. The archer was the little short lady. The fighter was a lion man, which are new for this game.
Oh, right,
like
yeah.
Cat people,
that
like
was something that
Khajiit.
they wanted to do for the first one, and they couldn't.
Yeah. And then the thief was like a kind of stout guy. But the 3 pawns were the same. And so the pawns will help you out with quest knowledge. Like if they have knowledge of where a cave is or a mine or whatever, they'll be like, this way Arisen, or they'll point things out. Sometimes helpfully, sometimes unhelpfully. They'll be like, oh, treasure chest Arisen. We should try to make our way over there. And then you look around and you're like, where? Where is it? But like that's kind of and in a time crunched,
Right.
Dragon's Dogma is not a game you want to play while you're time crunched, because it is definitely a game that you just sink into. But the other great thing that comes back to this is weapon enchantments. That your pawns will give you. So basically, as a melee character, which all 3 of these classes, or not melee, but non-magical attack characters, your pawns will still enchant your weapons with magical properties. And if your pawn, the smarter your pawns get, the more knowledgeable they get, they will know, like, oh, this enemy doesn't like thunder. This enemy doesn't like fire. That kind of stuff. So, like, your pawns are gaining knowledge and growing, and, like, when they're in someone else's game, they're gaining knowledge of those quests and those areas and those things.
Crazy. Yeah.
And that's what happened in the first one, too, and that's in this one, too. So it's like if you make a pawn and then Blood starts playing with your pawn, and Blood does a bunch of missions you haven't done yet, like goes to a whole other area, your pawn will come back and be like, oh, I know about this cave. Let's go over here, follow me. And you can actually push, like, one of the things on the D-pad, and it'll have a little hand, and it'll say, like, basically, like, oh, follow this pawn. She knows what's going on. But the magical enchantments are really good. The takeaway is this. If you liked Dragon's Dogma, which I did, you, I think, will like Dragon's Dogma 2. It feels correct. Like, jank isn't even the right word, but it's like, it's got that weird je ne sais quoi that Dragon's Dogma has. They maintained it. Like, the feeling is the same, and it feels so good. Like, it felt like being back in a place. Even though the capital city is not Grand Soren, it's a whole different place. Like, you know, you get there and you're like, okay, I kind of know what to expect here. It's going to be this huge, sprawling, weird place. There's the noble quarter. There's the royal quarter. There's, you know, the shopping merchant area. There are statues and quest lines and stuff. Some kid will just suddenly start talking to you, and you're in a dialogue thing, and you're like, okay, and they're like, oh, can you find this thing at the apothecary or whatever? And you're like, okay, whatever. That kind of stuff. It's peak Dragon's Dogma, and I'm thrilled about it.
Did you find any bigger things?
Yes.
Did you get to crawl on
right.
anything's
Good
face?
call. Yeah, that was the last thing I had to make sure to do, because they were like, okay, you've got like 20 minutes left. And so I was like, okay, well, I the one thing I haven't done yet is fight something big. So they were like, okay, we'll go to the fighter profile. And I'm like, great, I haven't captured on that yet anyway. So I fought a griffin.
Nice.
So it was, big. And I did well. It didn't kill me or anything. I got it a couple of health bars down. Big monsters have multiple health bars. They'll have the first one, and then each little pip is another health bar. In Great Dragon's Dogma tradition, these guys are bullet sponges. They got a lot of hit points. And it's really fun. But yeah, the grappling, the climbing, whatever, the grabbing is still in it, and it's great. It feels really good. It's one of my favorite things of Dragon's Dogma is, like, just jumping on a guy and wailing on him. And, like, as certain characters, you can get at different weak points with different amounts, with different ease, you know. If you get on the eyeball as a thief, like, you really nail them, but, like, thieves have less endurance, you know, they're a little glass cannon compared to the fighter, you know. Like, I was right up in it with the fighter, and I could just kind of block most of its attacks, and I was fine. Whereas, like, thief with other... I didn't get to fight a big thing as a thief, but, like, I noticed, like, okay, my health is going down pretty quick here.
Right.
And as the archer especially, I was like, oh, okay. Like, if you get hit by a rock, you're basically dead as the archer. Yeah, so that felt much the same, but, like, tighter, cleaner, really good. Frame rate was not great, but it's a preview build, so, like,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect it'll be, like, bulletproof when it comes out. I wouldn't want it to be. Kind of. But it's Dragon's Dogma, baby. It's great. I'm thrilled. And I hope you're thrilled, too. I also, at the event, saw a couple other little things really briefly.
Yeah.
I saw, over Blessing's shoulder, I watched him play Resident Evil Village on iPad, which worked shockingly well. Apparently, it's going to be on iPhone 15 as well.
Right.
The newest iPhone. So that was pretty sick. I played, like, a second of Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, I think. I kind of just picked that one because it had a girl. Started with a very intense, very beautiful anime scene. Like, the graphics are gorgeous. It looked really, really good. This was on Switch. But it started with a really intense scene of, like, a bomb threat being called into a courtroom. And, like, all the sound was just the countdown as you saw people, like, screaming and running away, and then the whole thing blows up. And it was, like, very intense. And I was like, whoa. And then it cuts to like funny characters doing things like falling down the stairs and stuff. And I was like, okay, this is great. I don't have capture of that, but like that game looks really promising. But I was at the end of my time slot, and I was also just like, this seems like a game you got to sit down and actually like play.
No, it's nice that they've kept those going.
Yeah.
That series.
And then the last thing I saw was the new character
Aki
or AKI or whatever. Who's a Fang's protege, I guess, which I didn't know before. But I played a couple of rounds as her, against her, and got wrecked because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I was on a fight stick, too, and I was just like, I don't even know what these buttons are. I'm like, so then I bought Fight Clubbed them. I had them fight each other, and it was awesome. And I sat there and I watched 3 rounds of Aki versus Aki, and it was sick. Aki won.
Nice.
But yeah, she seems very cool. I really liked her moveset and like how slinky and weird she is. She's like just gross and strange, and I really like it. So she seems cool. Or they? I'm actually not sure. But yeah, it was cool. And that's what I saw at Capcom in San Francisco, TGS on the Bay. I was mostly there for Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Is like, I'm not sure if we're gonna. Oh, Dragon's Dogma's there. Okay.
Yeah. We were like, we're probably not gonna go Dragon's Dogma. Okay. Yeah.
Somebody is going to this.
Yeah.
Sending somebody.
I am thrilled that I went. I am chomping at the bit. Unless they announced something again in the last day or two that I have missed because I was traveling and podcasting. They don't have a date yet, but I am very excited. And from what I played, it seemed like it probably not that far off. Like maybe next year, early next year, hopefully. Yeah, I'm thrilled. So if you're a Dragon's Dogma fan, I have high hopes. If you enjoyed this, we have coverage of all kinds of stuff at easyallies.com or patreon.com/easyallies. It's a great way to support us.
Yeah, we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth up there.
Yeah.
We got Spider-Man 2 up there.
Spider-Man
I was
2.
talking about the big previews, but yeah, Sea of Stars
previews.
review is up there too.
Yeah.
And some more stuff on the way.
Really good stuff on the way. And we've got a bunch of shows and streams and podcasts and all kinds of stuff. I guarantee that you'll find something you'll enjoy. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I wasn't too rambly and crazy. I just love Dragon's Dogma. Shut up. All right, bye.
Bye.
Mayhap you will visit me again someday. Till then, take care. Everson.